Gamers, we are finally back because Black Ops 6 is heating up. I know the beta isn't for another 3 weeks, but there is so much going on. If you haven't been keeping up with everything, there's people playing Black Ops 6 right now, and they're only playing the multiplayer. They haven't touched the campaign and zombies yet, but there is a ton of information coming out about the entire game. And for zombies specifically, there hasn't really been a ton yet, but there is two things that have come out today because people have been looking through the files of the game that is really interesting and honestly could kind of change zombies forever. Now keep in mind, obviously, all this stuff is not 100% confirmed because it is just looking through the files. Some of it could have been scrapped, some of it could be changed, whatever the case may be, so take that with a grain of salt. But if the files are to be believed, and if Bob Network UK over on Twitter is actually telling the truth, I know that it's a different username on screen that you guys are seeing, his account got suspended, but this is Bob Network UK's well-known leaker. If he is to be believed, then Round-Based Zombies is saying that there's going to be standard and guided versions. In the standard version of zombies, the description goes as it normally does, where you're just going to be playing zombies like you always have been, going through rounds. If you want to do quests or not, that's really kind of up to you. But then there's also a guided version where the description for it says complete story quests with guidance and a maximum round cap of 15. And for those of you that have been around zombies a long time, then you'll have known that this isn't the first time that something like this has happened. It was also in the final rake for World War II, where there was a guided version of that Easter egg. It wasn't completely guided all the way through. There was a casual version where you got one cutscene, and then there was a hardcore one where you had to do the regular version of zombies, and then you got a better cutscene. This is obviously going to set off alarm bells in some people's head because they think that this is going to be exactly like that, but I'm not actually convinced that it's going to be the same thing. I don't think that this is going to be a full Easter egg like some people are trying to make it out to be. The reason for that is because the language that the Treyarch has used over the years has really changed with zombies. A couple years ago, they actually described using Pack-a-Punch and getting perks as hardcore things to do in zombies. Their verbiage has really changed because they realized how casual a lot of people are about the mode these days. So it wouldn't really surprise me at all if this whole guided story quest thing is literally just turning on the power and getting maybe the first step of the Easter egg, or maybe seeing a first of a couple of cutscenes. But it's definitely not going to be the full Easter egg all the way through because that would just ruin the hunt for everybody. So it's probably not going to be this catastrophic thing where literally 2 hours into the game's existence we're going to have the full Easter egg solved and everyone's going to be upset about it. I really do think it's just going to be an extremely watered down version of what happened in the final rake. Kind of changing gears a little bit with that though, I do think that this is a good thing. A lot of people really don't remember how many casuals there is to zombies, especially over the last few years where there's been Vanguard, there's been MW3 zombies, stuff like that, where we haven't really had a traditional Treyarch zombies in about 4 years. In that time, a lot of people go in and out of the Call of Duty franchise, especially with it coming to Xbox Games Pass. There's going to be so many new people who are going to be introduced to zombies, and I think it's a good way to just get them introduced a little bit. Make sure they know how to buy guns, buy perks, turn on the power, things like that. It'll probably be really good for that sort of thing because zombies sometimes is a high barrier for entry. Think about something like Shadows of Evil. There is so much going on with that, and if you're not someone who's really dedicated to zombies and has a lot of time to figure it out, or maybe you're just not the brightest person in the entire world, maybe you're just a little bit fucking stupid, kind of like me a little bit, but if you're a little bit dumb, you might just not understand what's going on and give up on it. There's a reason that after all these years in multiplayer, so many people still play stuff like Team Deathmatch and Search and Destroy, and it's because all you have to do is just walk forward. There isn't really too much thinking to go on with it. Or on the flip side with zombies, that's why so many people love Kino der Toten, or why they love Nocturne and Toten is because they're just simple and there really isn't much to explain. That isn't the only news that Bob Network UK dropped though, because the biggest bombshell of today is actually, he said that if I'm reading this correctly, you can save and quit a solo match of zombies in BO6, allowing you to return to your zombies match later, only one save at a time though. That's probably some of the biggest news that we've had in zombies in quite a few years, and that might not seem that big of a deal on the surface, but the more that you actually think about it, the more important that it does become. We've never had a save and quit feature in the main zombies games. The only time that it ever was seen was in the mobile versions of zombies, but this is the only time that we're ever going to get it in the main forms of these games. And for as much as I absolutely adore zombies and I have for the last over a decade, there is a big barrier for entry, especially if you're wanting to go for high rounds. people who touch grass on occasion aren't going to have the chance to sit down and play 6, 7, 8 hour games of zombies even on the weekend. And I firmly believe that that shouldn't stop them from being able to go for high rounds. It's always been such a bad feeling when you have something to do, and even if something comes up unexpectedly, that you have to leave your game of zombies on round 50, 60, 70, whatever the case may be, and you just lose all that progress in that time. As I said earlier, with so many new people coming into Call of Duty this year with Xbox Games Pass, there's going to be a lot of people who want to go for high rounds, or maybe haven't played zombies in 10 years and they want to revisit that magic of Kino where they got to round 50, but again, maybe they're 35 years old and just don't have the time to do it. Even maybe for those people who take a couple of hours to complete an Easter egg, this is really going to be a game changer. I don't think that there's going to be any downsides to this if Treyarch implements it correctly. I understand that's just in a solo match because it would probably be impossible to do in a co-op game, but this is still a large W. If you've ever watched any of my content, I've always been a fan of things that make zombies more accessible to everybody to play. Especially during the Black Ops 3 era, in my opinion, there was a lot of niching down where maps got a little bit more complicated every single time the one came out, except for Der Eisendrache. But for as much of a golden period as it was, it kind of made it a little bit more difficult to get into zombies for some people. And I understand that there is that magic to it, and I really do believe in that too, but being able to get people who just want to come in for a couple of hours interested in zombies, that's never going to be a bad thing, because then maybe they go back and play Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4 or even Cold War, honestly. It's just about getting them through the door, and having a save and quit feature is going to be massive. Obviously, it's going to have a couple of issues. There's not going to be a case where you're going to be able to just go to round 15,000 and it's not going to crash. There's definitely going to be limitations to it, but at the end of the day, progress is progress. Something like this also shows to me that Treyarch is willing to learn and grow again. Black Ops 6 overall kind of seems like a massive W so far. There really isn't anything that's kind of put me off of the whole thing, so it seems like Treyarch just might be back, honestly. Hopefully this means that this isn't going to be the only improvement. Like I said, there is more stuff that's coming out. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be leaked over the next couple of months, so don't expect this to be the final thing, but so far, if this all is true, it is a big deal. There's not much else to talk about though. Like the video, subscribe. Sorry for taking so long between videos on this channel, blah, 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 blah. Hit the buttons. Thank you. Love you. Bye.